This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with Violent Gentlemen. We're joined with Slick Vic Victor Rabbi. Rabbi. I'll get it.
Rabei.
I tried to pronounce it before we started, but it was always going to happen.
Listen, it doesn't matter. A lot of people get it wrong. I don't mind.
Obviously, I think you just brought it into shot there straight away, so I think probably the first place you start
Bound to
is
have it.
what on earth happened to your hand?
There she is. I was getting ready for. I was in camp for a fight at the end of May with on the same card with Tony Brown and John Cooney. And Steve and I have been training since the start of nearly the mid-March because we're hoping to get ready for May to get a big fight in May, but then that fell through. So we ended up kind of deciding that we're going to go May 29th, so we're back in the ring. And on Wednesday, just gone there, we were meant to be doing 10 rounds of sparring with two fresh opponents. And in the second round, I just caught my sparring partner with an overhand right, kind of in around there. And then it clicked in, and then I felt it straight away. I couldn't even close my hand, couldn't grip my glove.
Mm.
So I knew there was something wrong, and then straight away jumped out of the ring, hopped in the car, went to the hospital, and I found out that it was a fracture on the neck, which is, I thought at the start, I thought it was very, like, the way they scared me, thinking, they were saying that I might need surgery, I might need this and that. But then the next day I went and saw a specialist, and he said, listen, it's just a matter of looking after. I have it in a splint for a week, then back in for an x-ray, and then back in this for like 3-4 weeks. And then it's just a matter of not punching, no contact with my right hand for like 2-3 months. But I'm fortunate to be able to still kind of crack on with everything else, So the second the swelling goes down on the hand, I'll be doing my strength with my S&C coach. I'll be doing my running. I'll be doing a lot of technical stuff with Steve, working on switching, working on my left side. So there's still plenty of me to do, which it is what it is. We'll move on.
It's staying the positive out of, as well. It's like anything nowadays. If you start to want to annoy you, it'll obviously annoy you. The good thing is it's only your hand, so you can do everything else. You can use your left. You can go running. You can still train the lads in a normal way.
Yeah.
You just can't sort of hit the many punches with your right hand for a while.
For a little bit, yeah. No, at first, don't get me wrong, the first Wednesday and Thursday, it was very difficult. I was still in that fight mood, and I was getting itchy knuckles, and sparring was brilliant. Everything that Steve and I have been doing in the gym was working, was starting to really show. My fitness was peaking at the right time, and then this happened. So obviously, it's put a spanner in the works. But listen, it is what it is. Thankfully, it hasn't fully broke. Thankfully, they need to get surgery. That would have put me out for, instead of 2-3 months, it would have been 4 to 6 months. So we'll take the positives over the negatives.
Definitely will. And obviously, by the time you're getting back into training, hopefully things will be back to some sort of normality, and getting obviously fans and stuff back in. So it's sort of focusing, obviously fixing it now, because the last thing you want to do is to rush back and then obviously damage it again and be out for even longer. So it's being
Yeah, well,
being
that's the
smart.
thing. Like, it's being smart. If I go back in now and they're saying, like, if I happen to break it again in 2 months, or I go in a little bit before, then that could really fuck up my hand. I could be out for close to a year. So it's just taking my time, let it heal properly, and then crack on. I'd say the plan is to fight in the States at the end of September, early October.
Mm-hmm.
So it just falls in perfectly. We're hoping to get this fight now, and we're hoping to get a 6-rounder in May, and then like an 8-rounder in July. But listen, it is what it is. I'll be in my best shape come September, October.
Yeah, definitely. It's a positive. So obviously, for anybody who probably wouldn't know too much about you, you're originally from Moldova. When did you move across to Ireland then?
Yeah, I was born in Moldova. My family and we moved to Ireland in 2004 winter. It was just, chasing a better life, which we got, thankfully. My parents came over first, and then a couple of months later, my brother and I came. And yeah, here we are. Jeez,
So you're what, about 10 then when you sort of moved across?
yeah, I was 10 when we moved to Ireland in 2004.
So
Straight in.
pretty much then, did you do any boxing back in Moldova, or was it sort of something that you picked up whenever you moved across?
No, so in Moldova, I was really into football.
Hmm.
I'd always play football. Once back in Moldova, and then when we came here into Ireland, see, we came in January, and I think it was like a week or 2 weeks later, we were in school straight away, and I had not a word of English. And then at the same time, I was trying to learn English, and my dad was like, "You need to make friends. You need to do something." It's like rather than go to school and come home and do nothing. And I was mad into football. I love
Hmm.
football, so I joined a football team at the time, and I think I played for maybe a season and a half or something. And then one night it came to awards night. I thought I was the next best thing, as a kid. Like
Hmm.
I was probably shit, but I didn't get any awards. So I was a bit frustrated. I was sad about it. And then at that time, I was like, I want to do something that I'll represent myself. And my bigger brother at the time was doing Thai boxing,
Hmm.
and he was just saying, like, listen, rather than sit around doing nothing, come in and just try it out. And I went in, and I loved it. I loved that competitiveness, that fact that if you put it in, you get rewarded, but if you don't, then it's up to you and all that stuff. And I remember I did it for 2 3 years. I had like 4 or 5 fights, and I won all of them.
Hmm.
And but at the time, I wasn't really throwing much kicks. It was just kind of a lot of punches and the odd kick. And my coach at the time moved back to Moldova,
Hmm.
and I was left again without a coach. And one of the lads in the gym was training in Mount Talent in Terranir in McDowell's gym, and he
Hmm.
said, "Come in and try it out." And I think it was the 22nd or 23rd of December or something. It was like just before Christmas. We went in for a session, and I loved it. And I never went back to Thai boxing. And I've
It,
been here. I am uh, boxing nearly 14 years.
time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, fuck, too quick.
It does. And when you think back, it's sometimes, and I say sometimes you do interviews. Like I know you're coming up now 4 years of pro as well. 24th of June, 2017. So
2017, yeah.
4 years coming up. Um, but obviously, so it was more your sort of brother get you into sort of combat sports in some sort of way, and then probably a friend then it sort of suggested boxing rather than kickboxing.
Yeah, he just noticed that I wasn't throwing too many kicks, and he says, like, Vic, he was a bit older than me, and he was saying, like, I reckon you do really well in boxing. And at the time, I was like, I don't know, this is good. I didn't wasn't mad for a change. And then I was just like, I was like, all right, fuck it, let's try it. And then I went in, and I loved it. There's a lot more to it. It's like, even now, if you really watch like Thai boxing fights, the lads are just there in front of each other. There's not a lot of slipping and dodging punches. It's like you take a shot, you throw a shot. You take one, you give one. You take one, you give one until someone falls. Now it's beautiful in its own way, but boxing is a coach once in the UK when I was sparring was saying that he was comparing like boxing to other combat sports,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying like MMA is like going to war with like pistols and rifles and this and that, and having so much different what do you call it,
As
weapons.
like so much
Whereas
arsenal they sort of come with it
whereas
to
in
the chest.
boxing you just have, it's literally two hands, waist up, try stop your opponent. There's a lot of skill that goes into it. And I fell in love. And don't get me wrong, there's times where I fucking hated the sport and I tried to get out of it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'd be out for a month or two, and then just before you know, you're there punching a bag again, and you're sparring, you're fighting. But now I understand myself, and I understand when I need to take a step back. I understand when I need to push. So we're in good terms with it.
So would you have watched any boxing things before you started get into it, or was it probably more as you started getting into train boxing that you then started to go, I need to watch boxers and things like that?
No, so I was watching boxing. I remember my first fight in boxing that I really remember clearly was Oscar De La Hoya against Floyd Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was watching those at 24/7 beforehand. I was mad into them, and then at the time I was doing Thai boxing. And then I remember, it's like, always, my dad's huge into boxing. He's never boxed, but he loves it. Loads of people came over to our house, and we ended up watching that fight, and I was like, oh, that was class. but I didn't really kind of, it was just a fight. It was just like, it's like, oh, that was cool. And only like a little while later, then I went to boxing. Obviously, when I started boxing myself, then I really kind of, I started understanding. I started looking at boxers and seeing what they're doing. I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, it's like, I want to try to do that. And then I was trying to do other things that copy other people's styles. And then, you take a little bit from here, for a little bit from there. And yeah, just crazy sport.
I remember having Tony Brown on, and I think that's what Tony Brown says. I think that's why he got involved in boxing. I think he said I think they'd have an injury or something. I think he was sitting at home and put it on the TV, and the next thing he goes, "I'll give boxing a try," and he hasn't looked back since.
Yeah,
It's
mad.
it's crazy, like some people have it on, and it's been Rocky films, or it's been Big Brothers, Wee Brothers, sisters, whatever. It's got them into the sport, but it's always interesting, because you could have no interest in the sport whatsoever. Put on a pair of gloves and you're natural, and people's going, "You're gonna be world champion," and that's it. You're brainwashed.
Yeah. It's an addictive. It's mental. I like, even at times we'd sit in the gym and then we think about boxing and we're just like, what the hell? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
can someone love this? It's you. A training camp is so difficult. Like, you're training 8 to 10 weeks, and your body, you're waking up at silly o'clock, and then you're going. Loads of people's like, oh, well, work is this, work is that. Yeah, but like, I don't know how to explain it. You're up at 6, and you know that you need to do a training session where you're pushing to your limit, and then
Mm-hmm.
you get home at 8 o'clock in the morning, half 8, and then that's it. You're ready for bed again, and you're going for a nap. You wake up and you do the same thing again. But it's the fighting. It's just, you can't get enough of it. Sparring. It's a drug. You can't, like, you hear boxers always say, it's like, oh, you get itchy knuckles, because once you don't fight, you're always kind of like, ah, it's hard. Like, if I wasn't to be fighting, I think I'd hate boxing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if it wasn't for the fighting, if I knew that, I don't think I would 100% wouldn't have been able to do it. Without that, like, the fights at the end just makes everything else easy. It's a tough workout, but there's never a morning where I wake up and be like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a fight, and what you're doing, it's no problem. You get up, you push, you come back home, you look after your recovery, you look after yourself, and then you just make sure that you're ready for the next one.
I think
And when
sometimes
it comes
it's
to
it's
fighting,
it's something with discipline sort of as well. Sometimes it teaches you things in sort of life where probably they say probably one of the big things is obviously it keeps you mentally strong as well. But the discipline, I guess, it probably you know like if you're out in the night out and somebody bumped into you, you would sort of not have a short fuse in a way because you're going, I could do you in one punch. You sort of keep that bit in reserve, but it sort
mhm.
of helps you. I think boxing helps you to grow up and sort of be respectful, obviously, as everybody
It makes
else.
you mature, 100%. I think the most what I got from boxing was a bit of cop on. Uh, when I was younger, I used to get in trouble. I thought that, I was boxing, I was barely doing anything. But I'd let my hands go, and whenever I have a few drinks and this, and it was the dumbest. Like, looking back on it, it was the dumbest thing ever. I don't know why
Mm,
I was doing it, but now you understand what you have and how dangerous it is, and you just know that it's like, listen, this is for the ring. This I do it because I do it in the ring with gloves in a safe environment, a safe enough environment.
mm.
Uh, but anything outside of that is pointless. It doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid.
Yes. And sort of talk to us. Obviously, I know you didn't have. As obviously sometimes if people look into amateur careers, sometimes they look for medals, this, that, the other, everything. What sort of amateur career did you have?
So my amateur career, when I joined Mount Talent, I started off doing not too bad. I picked up. I started winning Dublin Leinsters. I was fighting some decent names at the time, doing all right against them. Um, I had a lot of potential. The only thing I was lacking was discipline in the boxing. You
Mm,
know, our boxing was only on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. Uh, so you're only training 3 times a week, preparing for like the intermediates and stuff. And a lot of the times I was doing well. I got to the finals a couple of times, but I was, again, like, I had little niggles like with my shoulder and stuff that I always was bothering me, but I wasn't doing much about it. And then I'd go missing for a while, and then I'd come back, you know. So I was caught in a moment where, you know, I didn't know, there was girls in my life, there was this, there was that, so I was a bit lost.
Yeah.
But then all of that kind of happened. I was working in a fitness gym in town for, I think it was like a year. And then I was just like, nah, you know what? I want to give this a proper go, because I loved it. You know, I love boxing. Even then, I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And I was just like, I'd rather give boxing a go now rather than wait 10 years and they'd be like, oh, I could have done it, you know. So I met up with Steve. I sent Steve a message, said, can I pop down to the gym and train? And he did. I went to Steve. He sat me down, asked me what I wanted to do, what my goals were. Because Steve, you know, he's in the gym full time.
Mm-hmm.
That's his job, you know. So it's very disrespectful if, you know, first of all, you're lying to yourself, but you don't want to lie to Steve. So he asked me, he's like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Blah, blah, blah. I said, it's like, well, listen, to be honest, at the moment, I don't know. I want to give the elites a go, try it out, and then hopefully after turn pro at some stage. And he was saying, it's like, well, listen, I know you have seen you in the stadium a couple of times. I think you have a really good style. Let's start out and try it out. So I think it was like, we're training for a month, maybe a month and a half, 2 months. And that was August, September. And then we're trying to get my boxing card from my previous club, transfer it over to St. Michael's. And then there was a little bit of problems with that. They didn't want to, not that they didn't want to let me go. They already have, but I was just a bit of, I don't even know. They were making it really difficult. They said, it's like, listen, Vic, it's past the transfer window. I think it was July or something at the time. We can't give you the card. You have to go get it from Mel or somewhere. I can't remember who it was. And it took me a couple of months. Oh no, hang on. Sorry, I'm getting caught up now. So September, then we want to go. We want to fight in the elites. That didn't happen. So Steve was like, "Listen, let's kick on. I'll get you in contact with some promoters here in Ireland. They're looking at running shows in February later on that year." And Red Corner came in at the time, and they said it'll help me out. I went to one of their shows in February. It looked great in the stadium. The atmosphere is fantastic. And then the next one they ran was on the 24th of June, 2017, and that's when I made my debut. And it's a night to remember, you know. It was a fantastic night. I fought a tough lad. Luke Keeler fought on the headline. He fought Darren Cruz for the Irish side, I think. Was it Irish?
Yeah.
So it was a big enough card. There's a big attention around it. And yeah, here we are, nearly 4 years later.
The rest is history, isn't it? So did the link up sort of come with Conor? Because I know Conor was sort of engaged with Red. Was it Red Star? Was he called Red Corner at the time? And obviously then when they had their difficulties, Conor was sort of nearly like a sort of, they helped each other out in a way. So is that sort of how the link up came with Conor then, was it?
No, so the link with Conor happened with Red Corner were running shows in Ireland at the moment. And then Kaz Evans, Conor worked for Kaz Evans, who was Assassins Boxing. They wanted to come into Ireland. I think they're managing Ray Moylette at the time. They wanted to come into Ireland and start putting on shows as well. And at the start, like, it's very expensive to put shows down south. So they started to link up with Red Corner and do a show together. And then they had that idea for Last Man Standing as well. So obviously that happened. And then there's a bit of confusion that happened with money and stuff. So Mel Crystal banned Kaz Evans from Ireland, from running shows in Ireland. And then obviously Conor went independent. And, you know, everything they promised me, I got. So I decided to sign with Conor. And yeah, he's helped me out to this day.
And sort of, you know, when you look back, I think what, 7 of your 10 fights have been in Ireland. So, you know, it's probably, we're obviously going to see less and less because of the issues with insurance and everything else. But, you know, you've had three All-Irish dust-ups as well. Probably the most notable one being Jake Heaney, who's obviously now announced he's coming back into boxing again. So would be safe to say, you know, the Celtic title fight was obviously your proudest moment as a boxer so far?
Yeah, the two of them. So fighting Carl Kelly was a great fight because Carl was just on my chest all the time, and then obviously the Jake Haney fight as well was great because of the publicity and the attention that he got,
Mm-hmm.
and it was good. It was two. Boxing in Ireland was on the boom. Like from my first fight, I've had a few fights at the starts with Castlebar. I've had what 3 TV appearances in Ireland. The National Stadium was getting sold out. Last Man Standing happened. Obviously, then Jake Haney happened. Eric Donovan was headlining that show. So there was big shows in Ireland, and it was booming. It was very unfortunate that it died off because of some silly things. I think there's a person in the BUI that's not letting anyone do anything. He wants to be in control of absolutely everything that happens. I'm to be actually talk about this. I'm stripped of my BUI Celtic title with the BUI because I went to get a license in the States with the New York Athletic Commission because obviously I'm signed to Star Boxing in the States, and it's way easier for me to have an American license because when I fight over there, they deal with it on the spot rather than kind of email Boxing Union of Ireland, and then by the time they get back and forth, and then he took that because there's loads of boxers that have more than one boxing license, and he took it the wrong way, and he said like, "No, sure, you're fighting under an American license, so that's you gone. Not even in the rankings in Ireland, not in anything," which is an absolute joke, So it just shows like the second that anyone wants to do something good in Ireland, I don't know, it's like a monopoly. You're not allowed, and then they say you're allowed, and then the second you start doing something, they make it really difficult, which is an absolute shame because everything was going fantastic. I honestly think that if it was to go in the same, well, obviously the pandemic had a little, put a little spanner in the works, but like we could have been fighting in the Three Arena, we could have had really big nights, but just died off.
And
Now
I know
everyone's fighting
from,
away. There's no fights in Ireland.
I think Joe and stuff from Irish Boxing done an article last year, and obviously the costs and stuff involved, and the insurance is crazy, and the costs involved just to put on a show. I think for people who travel from Dublin up 100 mile up the road to Belfast, it's a third probably of the price.
If not even, I think something like it's like insurance or something for a night. I think someone was saying to me it's like for a fight in Newry or in Belfast, it's like 500 quid. Whereas here down south, it's like 5 grand or 10 grand, and then you have to put a bond. You're looking at putting 20 grand before you even look at venues, paying opponents, doing anything. And it's just mental. Who's gonna put on a show when before they do anything, they're already down 20 grand.
It's just not justified
No,
unless obviously it's a
joking
massive,
us before we even get going.
unless obviously like a big massive promoter, come in. But then at the same token, with things that's obviously went on in the south, not obviously we want to sort of put blame and things on people for things, but from what's happened in the past, it's hard to see boxing returning in the south to probably its former glory days.
I don't see it, to be honest. I honestly can't see professional boxing unless something changes in the BUI, or unless if we can get another board of commission here to that we'll be able to fight under 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know. There's not going to be any big shows in Ireland.
Sort of. You'd said, I think back in September, I think it obviously you were probably now the stage where you wanted to have a step up, and we're obviously not asking this question for just a case of calling somebody out, but as a boxer you can only go so far, probably fighting boxers at certain standards. Probably it's getting to the next level, and where you probably want your dreams and things of being as a boxer, you have to take step ups. Do you have,
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess, in any way you sort of look at certain boxers and have your mind on sort of things? Like I know there was talk for a while of you and Gary Cully fighting, but obviously you'd signed with Star and everything else, so that sort of didn't materialise.
Well, yeah, well, listen. First of all, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money for me to be fighting the same quality opponents, like to pay people and go in and just bash them up for 6 rounds. That's not what I want. First of all, it's very tough to train for fights like that because you're so demotivated. Like you can't. It's very hard to train for them because you know that you're going in. The next thing, one of them could keep their hands up and run away for 6 rounds. It's easier to train when you have a big fight coming up. So yeah, I'm still looking at big fights. Gary Cully and I were in talks a couple of times of fighting. They got on to us again in February, I think it was, when he was meant to be, when he fought that lad Victor. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Kochitov.
Yeah. They offered me the fight. I said yes. Well, when I say they offered it, one of a lad from their team messaged me directly. He was like, "Would you be interested in fighting Gary Cully on that show, maybe for an IBF or some sort of title?" And I was like, "Absolutely." There's no loss in that fight. If you go in, give it your all, and the best man wins. The best man won. Your profile will still rise after that fight. So I was really excited for it. Then we got in contact with them. Then it fell through because of they're saying that it would make sense to make that fight happen without a crowd, which is fucking bang on.
Yep.
It would have been a waste. Like if I was to fight Gary, it would be really like imagine fucking in Belfast or in England or in Ireland, anywhere. Like you get a really good crowd and you get good attention around that fight. So that didn't happen. And then I was in Moldova for February. And on March 12th or 13th, Conor rang me and said, like, listen, Ray Moylette, because, oh, wait, hang on. So backing up a few months after my fight on the 10th, oh, sorry, October.
September, I think.
10th of
September, was
October
it?
in Poland.
September, October.
Yeah, in October when I fought in Poland. We got in contact with Ray Moylette. We said if we were trying to get him to fight us, we offered him 4 grand plus expenses to fight in Spain because obviously nothing was happening around here. They turned it down. They said, listen, he hasn't fought in a while. I was like, all right, that's fair enough. And then I was in Moldova in February, and then Conor rings me and says, Vic, Pikey Collins got on to me. He was asking if you would fight Ray Moylette on May 1st. So I was like, yeah, happy days. So I was asking him, I was like, how much, how many rounds, where, and all of this. And he's saying, like, money wise, because again, it was in behind closed doors. He was saying, it's like, whatever my sponsor would give me, plus you'll try to get like a grand out of the promoters. I was like, grand, fuck it. You know what? I'll fight regardless because the way I looked at it was I was willing to pay him 4 grand. So I was like, I'll fight him for whatever. And I flew back. So I think it was Saturday that I got the call. On Sunday, hopped on a plane, flew back to Ireland, and started training. Like, I was taking over, but I started training full time with Steve. Then they got back to us. I was like, so no, Conor got back to him and says, like, let me know what you're thinking about Vic and Ray. At the time, he was fighting in Belgium, I think, in Brussels. Yeah. And he was just like, we have a fight at the weekend. We'll get back to you next week. Fight happened. Conor got back to him, was like, listen, congratulations on the fight. Let me know what you're thinking about Vic. And he came back and said, first weekend in May, over 8-10 rounds. I'm not sure if they said the rounds, but on the Gary Spike O'Sullivan undercard. So we were like, all right, perfect. Yeah, we're interested. And then they're like, oh, would Vic be ready? And we're like, yeah, we'll be ready. And then he's like, all right, we'll get back to it. A couple of days passed. They didn't say anything. Then we got back onto them. And then he was just like, we're looking at other options. We're looking at a bigger fight down the line, which is get him an easy fight now. And then look for a big fight in June. So I was like, oh, fucking hell. It's like, all right, fair enough. You don't want to fight. You don't want to fight. Then I think his fight fell through because of COVID. So we went and offered him again. We said, listen, let's fight at the end of May in Spain. And they're like, no, we don't want that fight anymore. We're looking at something in the States. So we're like, all right, well, listen, you asked us, we asked you, we tried to make that fight happen. They didn't want to do it. I said, we'll move on. So I organized this fight in Spain. And then the cheeky fucking cunts. I think Steve put up my hand injury yesterday or the day before, and Pikey Collins gets on the phone and rings. Would Vic be interested in fighting in July? Fight Ray Moylette in July? And I really fucking felt like picking up the phone, ringing him, telling him to fuck off. It's an absolute joke. I don't even know what they're trying to play at. We've tried to make this fight happen a couple of times. They said no, and then the last time we said, it's like, listen, for end of May, and like, no, we're looking at something else completely. I get an injury. The next day he rings and says, yeah, Vic against Moylette. And I was like, all right, fucking, that's just stupid. But then, hang on a second. Now, this is between, well, not between us, obviously. But we are getting back to them, and we're saying it's like a fight in the States. We're going to offer him a fight in the States to fight me for 10 rounds for some sort of belt in September, which gives him 3 months, gives him loads of times. There's absolutely no reason for him to say no. I'm still injured. I'll be training, obviously. But September gives me plenty of time to train. It gives him, he can have 1 or 2 fights before that if he wants. So it's time to fucking kick on and get some big fights.
And I'd say it's sort of sometimes not like, like sometimes you call somebody, it's not you call out just to disrespect them. It's more the fact that you're not in boxing all your life. So whenever you obviously, they say that obviously closed mouths don't get fed, or is it closed mouths don't get fed? So you have to go looking for fights and sort of call somebody to make a fight to get money, because if you fight journeyman all the time, you're paying for your opponent. You have no motivation to fight them.
Waste of money.
And then you find one that actually...
You obviously learn a lot from them, but fuck me, like I've already had 10 fights, and I'm not having a go at him and being like calling them out. I am calling them out because first of all, we offered him a fight in December, 4 December. They said no because he was inactive. And then they ring me, Conor, and contact us and ask us to fight. So I said yes. I flew back. I only had 6 weeks notice. I said, that's fine. I'll get into it. And he's already been in camp for his fight on the 28th. So he must have been at least 6 weeks in camp. And he's been training, he's been sparring Tennyson. So he's in fantastic shape. And I only had 6 weeks. So I was like, that's all right. I was still relatively fit. I just needed to pick up the pace. And I would have been ready for May 1st. And I said, yeah, no problem. And then they said no. And then we offered again. And then they said no. And then now I have an injury. And then they come back to us. I don't know what the fuck they're playing at, And we got an offer from a Russian as well to fight somewhere in Siberia, and I have accepted that. And then a week later, they said no. It's very frustrating, I think put a lot of time into training, and then it's just things fall through.
I think it's the way sometimes that they sort of, they try and get a short list of names. I know obviously Padraig McCrory was obviously in line to be fighting David Lemieux. They're, supposed to be in June. And obviously they accepted the deal and everything else. And then the TV promoter came out and said, Paddy's not a big enough name, so he can't fight. And you're going, two guys want to fight, and then they let them fight, but it's politics in boxing. Sometimes they'll try and draw up a plan of certain opponents and then they put it to teams or whatever. But it's annoying probably as a boxer going, I've accepted the fight. They've come back and they've declined because they've taken a different option. It can be probably, I guess, put your head away sometimes when the more you look into it.
Again, listen, it is what it is. I'm just dying to get back into the ring. It's the more time I spend out, especially now. Like I should have been 14, 15, 16. I know at the moment. If it wasn't for this pandemic, like again, I was unfortunate with some injuries. I was meant to be fighting Omar Bordoy in the States on December 13th. And then fight week, I went over my ankle and I couldn't fucking even step on it. Mm-hmm. So we decided obviously we couldn't go over. And then that fight got rescheduled for March. And then Omar did his shoulder. And then he got rescheduled for April 14th. And then the pandemic hit. And here we are, So...
It's keeping the head going. Sort of trying to get you back and sort of, because I don't want it to end up being that we're just going to talk about things that sort of makes you feeling worse. We want to keep you smiling in the interview. Don't want you coming off afterwards and going, "That was dreadful. I hated that. I'm not doing an interview with you again."
I know this is a release. I'm just getting everything off my chest.
Get it out of
I'm
your chest.
on cloud nine leaving this room.
It'll save you going out and punching something, hurting your other hand.
No, I'm not making that mistake. I'm going to look after.
O'Rourke's Gym, obviously, when you first started out there, probably 2016, there probably wasn't as big as it is now. Would you say probably it's easier to train now? There's so many. Well, I think there's about 12 pro boxers, probably, roughly.
There's loads of us, like in and out of the gym, like all the time. There's 7 or 8, and then there's lads like down the country that fly up as well sometimes. But there's loads of us. When I started off with Steve, it was just me, Tony Brown, Ryan O'Rourke, and then MK joined as well, and that was really it. So there's 4 of us, and then Tiernan came, and then the lads they joined: Keane, Christian, Alan, John only joined recently. We have a fantastic squad in the gym. We're so fortunate to have, like, there's loads of us at different weights. Like, we literally have from super feather all the way up to heavyweight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we there's loads of sparring, like, and the sparring that we get in-house is fantastic. You get different style of boxing. Ryan's grown up now; he's huge as well. So Tiernan's fantastic. John's great. The sparring in the gym is unbelievable. Honestly, pay-per-view stuff. I rip the piss, but I always go into the gym saying, "Listen, Steve, we need to set up a camera in the corner, a YouTube channel, and get people to pay to watch the sparring because they need to see it."
Definitely, I'd say times are changing. To say with boxing and things. I guess sometimes Stephen's always been through the Manchester links and everything else. Sometimes what happens in the gym stays in the gym. If you're putting videos or anything up, it's probably more of a piss take, so that opponents can't see what you're
Sure.
working on.
We won't be putting up the juicy stuff,
Yeah, keep the juicy stuff off.
Yeah.
How did it sort of? I know you and Tiernan are very, very close. How did you become big pals?
So the first time I met Tiernan was obviously coming into the gym. I met Tony Brown, and Tony knew Tiernan through the Irish squad.
Mm-hmm.
They traveled to Australia together that summer, and I don't know how many months I was training with Steve. I haven't sparred. Tiernan was my first spar back, so I haven't sparred for over a year. And then Tony was like, "Do you want to go up to Conor Wallace's gym?" I can't remember what the name of it, up in Uri.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, "Do you want to go up and spar?" I was like, "There's a lad there for sparring." So I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And then I ended up sparring Tiernan, and he bashed me up. He was in his, well, not prime. He's still fucking fantastic, but he was just off coming from Australia representing Ireland. He was unbelievable. He still is. And then I went in and he bashed me up, and we sparred a couple of times after that. And I kept trying to drag him to Dublin. I was like, "Please come down to Dublin. Please come down to Dublin. Train here." It's like, you're not doing anything. Well, he was training. It's like, but you'll benefit so much more from training down south. And I was only doing that because of my selfish reasons, because I wanted to inspire him every day, to progress and get better.
Yeah.
And then he did move down, and training together all the time. We spent so much time together because we train in the morning. Then after morning, we get a coffee, we chill. Then we train again, and then we go off and go for a run. So it's Tiernan probably the person I spend most time with, out of everyone, like even my family, So it's hard enough to.
And probably, you're probably one of the big reasons why he's in Dublin now. I know I've obviously had Tiernan on a couple of times in interviews. I think Afila in 2019 he'd sort of got the bug of sort of returning to boxing. Like the amount of weight and stuff he's lost, and 4-0 and stuff so far. I guess obviously you probably feel like a brother. Probably is a fair assessment.
I mean, his bigger brother. Listen, all the inspiration he gets it from me. He wakes up, he gives me a call, I give him some motivational stuff, he fucking does everything. No, I'm just winding you up. We are like I said, we spend so much time together. It's like I want him to do the best. If there's anything that I can help him with, or if there's anything that he can help him with, we're always there for each other, you know. And it's really, really, really good to have that. Not a lot of people do. So very fortunate with that. And, you know, again, it just makes training easier because a lot of times both of us be in camp at the same time. So rather than, you know, if he wouldn't be in camp or I wouldn't be in camp, it's very easy to, you know, to go out on a night out or to do this or to do that. Whereas when we're both in camp, it's, what are you doing? Nothing. Let's go for a run. Or what are you doing? Let's go for a walk. Or let's do this. Let's do that. Just stuff that, you know, makes us better. And obviously just training each other, training with each other, makes it easier. We push each other on. We learn from each other. We're getting better and better, you know. I've no doubt that in a couple of years you'll see us in headlining shows alongside each other, you know.
Were you the driver in Poland?
I was the driver in Poland, yeah. Why?
I think I remember from one of Tiernan's stories. I think he was saying that you were like a death driver.
Like a death driver. He was the one that said that he wanted to drive first. I was like, I don't mind, yeah. Just jump in. And he couldn't fucking start the thing. He didn't know how to put it in gears. I was like, all right, hop out. And then because it was a left-hand drive, I jumped in and I drove. And I was just taking the piss, you know. Slapping on the brakes when I shouldn't have.
I remember seeing the Instagram. Obviously, he's over in Poland, and I remember obviously the videos, and he was saying, "If Victor ever offers you a lift, don't get in."
Poland's great, correct.
But obviously, it's that rivalry. Sort of, it's not more rivalry. It's more the laugh and the joke that probably makes camps and everything else a lot easier.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! If you don't have that, it's like going to work and not having fun, you know. How long are you gonna last? We need, especially what we do, it's just so hard and so intense a lot of the times, you know. And there's loads of times where you have bad days, and the last thing you want is to hold that on and bring it into the next day. But when you have like just happy atmosphere at the gym and you laugh, like obviously training is training, but before and after, you can have a laugh, if you can vent whatever you're thinking about and shit, you know, and it just makes everything so much easier, you know.
Definitely does. It's that sort of fine balance sometimes between working hard and having a laugh and a joke. You know, at the end of the day, if you're enjoying it,
we always work hard. We never not work hard, you know. We always give it. Whenever we come to training session, Steve is very sharp to fucking whip us back into line, you know. If obviously sometimes we mess and sometimes we do this, and he's there to kind of, you know, have a go at us and be like, listen, train. It's only an hour and a half, and then after that, do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. And we respect that because he's given his time. Then get on with it, and after have a laugh, and it's like nothing happened.
And I say it's bringing the best of everybody in the stable as well. You know, obviously, I think there's John and Tony. I think out in less than 2 weeks. Well,
yeah, John and Tony and Christian took my spot as well.
And then obviously there's 4 or 5 out again next month as well.
You know, yeah, the lads are on June 19th as well in Belgium.
Yep, so it's buzzing, you know what I'm saying, and that's what you want from a stable. If everybody's being kept active and kept getting work, obviously once your hand heals.
It's great, but it's fucking annoying for me. Because, like, again, I was really looking forward to this fight, and this happens, and then now you're like, the lads are fighting in June, and end of May, and then they're fighting again in June. Here's me not having fighting, you know, which is tough, is very tough, but we'll get our time.
We definitely will. Where do you obviously see the future for yourself then? How far do you see your talents taking you in boxing?
I think I have the right people around me, you know. It's just literally up to me to put in the work, to my team to get me the right fights, and push on to world titles. Listen, I've been chatting to Star Boxing recently, and they're saying that they're looking at putting on shows in the end of September, early October. So I'll be jumping in straight into a big fight then. Hopefully all goes well. I'll be top 50, well, in around there, top 50, get another 1 or 2 big fights, and then you're looking at top 15, and we're looking at, you know, to dig in, to mix it up with the best in the world. At the moment, the way things are going on here on this side of the earth, in Europe, the quality of boxing at my weight is very high.
Mm.
So I think there's probably a little bit quicker path to climb up through the States, which I literally have it all mapped out. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to be. Fight, get that win, go on to the next one, get that win. And then before you know, we're being contention for world titles, you know.
And that's a massive thing in boxing. You know, sometimes, you know, you always have to have goals and aspirations, because if you don't have anything set out, then you know you've already reached your limit.
Get lost, you know. You'll end up getting to a point in your career, and you'll start asking for directions, and everyone will say, one person will say go that way, the other person will say no, go the other way, and then you'll be like, well, what the fuck's going on? You're chasing your own tail on the same spot. But I want to be top 15 by the end of the year. Top in around that anyway. You know, we're looking at maybe looking at a big fight in the end of September, and then hopefully another big fight in close to December at some stage. Christmas, the two of them in New York, and then that should shoot me up the rankings. And then once we're there, kick off 2022 with another one or two big fights, and then hopefully put ourselves in a position where we're 15, 16 and 0, and you know, challenging for some sort of belts. We'll be going for I don't know what sort of belt yet. It'll be a 10-round fight, but we're looking to get some ranking belts, and then that will, again, like I said, fire me up the rankings.
Hold the jeans up.
Looking at the shiny ones.
Hold the jeans up until you get a proper belt.
Yeah, exactly.
And is the plan still to stay at 140?
No. The plan is 140 was always, like, I always made that weight very easily. Like, I wasn't really killing myself to make that weight, you know, and I always have a little bit here and there of body fat. So the weight is to 61.22. We're going down to lightweight.
Lightweight. So it's not much more of a difference. It's what, £5, I think. So, you know, whenever you've been campaigning around 140, you always have a wee bit extra I can go with, you know. But obviously, you know, I guess in any weight class now, we're probably seeing a lot more activity in boxing. You know, it's just sometimes planning the right routes. There's probably
that's all it is. Like I said, it's just it's a professional boxing is not a amateur boxing. It's not a championship that you need. That's the way to get to the top. You know, there's a lot of politics involved. There's money talks in professional boxing. You know, if you have money behind me, which luckily I do, I have fantastic sponsors. They're helping me out, and they said, like, listen, whatever we need to do, we'll back you up until we'll get you to the top. And I have great promoters in the States that have been there, they've done it. They recently have Joe Smith. He's I think light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight world champion. Yeah,
world champion. They've Chris Algieri is with them. Carlos Takam is still with them. So they have a really good stable, you know. Joe DeGuardia has been there. He's done that. He's ran loads of shows. He has all the connections in the States. So it's literally just a matter of us getting over to him seeing us fight live. And then the second that he does, he'll get us out, you know, and he'll get us on big shows, and he'll give us opportunities. And all we have to do is just make sure that we're ready to take them, you know.
I know obviously we sort of talked a wee bit off air before we started. Did the Canelo Saunders fight sort of give you a wee bit of, obviously with your hand at the minute, did it give you a bit of motivation to go 73,000, you know, and seeing the atmosphere and everything else? You just can't wait to get to America.
That was insane. That was probably, it was so weird to see, because obviously with the pandemics, like nearly all of the boxing that we've been seeing was behind closed doors, you know, which was weird. But then, like, I was chatting, because Tiernan and I, we watched it together in his, we were chatting and we are saying, it's like, just imagine stepping into his massive ring. Yeah. But imagine stepping into that ring and looking around and not seeing where the end, like, there were so many people there. There was thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It looked unbelievable. And obviously the atmosphere and everything was just fantastic. I can't wait to fight in front of people again. The best was, again, the Haney show, the Haney fight. I remember going down in the stadium, walking in the corridor, and then just doing, kind of turn towards the steps where you see the ring, and then just seeing people kind of looking over, like looking down at you. Everyone's heads turned looking at you. There's lights, there's smoke, people screaming and roaring. It's something else. I'm telling you, it's that's what gives you, whenever you're in the ring, you know, you'll have moments where you're a bit tired, and then you hear people screaming. That just gives you a second or third wind, and before you know, you're fucking going at it again. So I can't wait, and it's looking like it's ending. We've had the worst is behind us, you know. We're in this now a year and a bit. I think by September, October, things are going to go back to normal-ish, but we're looking at 2022 things being completely normal. So promising times ahead, you know.
Definitely.
It's all good.
I want to sort of give you obviously an opportunity as well to obviously shout out about your sponsors. We sort of haven't planned this in advance, so apologies to obviously any of your sponsors in advance if you forget about them or leave them out. But obviously sponsors play a huge role in boxing. You know, I put you in the spot now. You're thinking to yourself, I can't forget anybody.
Listen, there's not to forget. I only have one that's backing me, and he is my main sponsor. Steve and Naomi McElhaney from McElhaney Homes are my sponsors, and they have been with me since September. They're friends of mine, and they're the ones that really pushed me. They got on to me. It's like, Vic, why the fuck are you not fighting? And I was like, oh, well, listen, it costs so much. And they said, this is mental. And they literally just paid for everything. Fights, they've been paying me. They've been making sure that I'm in the gym. Massive, massive, massive help. You know, professional boxing at this stage of my career doesn't pay. You know, and training all this time, twice, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 times Tuesday, Thursday, 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday, is a full-time job. But at the same time, I'm not working, you know. So it's very difficult to make ends meet. And I've been very fortunate to have them sponsor me and help me keep making me stay in the gym rather than have, because loads of lads will go to the gym at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, get a session done. They go a full-time job on a construction site or whatever it is. And then after that, they go back to the gym like, you're absolutely fucked. You know, you're not getting the most out of your body. So very, very, very fortunate, and a massive, massive thank you.
So obviously, if there's anybody that's on here, it's looking to get global exposure once you go back to America, they know what they have to do.
Slick Vic in action, I'm telling you. I'll have the sparkliest shorts on this planet.
Yep. To be fair, probably it's the one thing I probably remember your fight in the Europa Hotel was your shorts. Your shorts were amazing.
Fantastic shorts. I had those camo shorts. I remember it because I only got them that day. I met Kieran from boxing in the hall in the Europa, and when I opened that box and I was recording, and the diamonds were sparkling, I was in love. He was the one that told me, he was like, boxers getting their fight shorts is like a bride getting her wedding dress. It's mental. It's so good. Like, you get so hyped up for it. And I got a new pair of shorts done for this fight that would have been, they are unbelievable. But then obviously I can't wear them now until September at least. So that's a bummer.
Just hang them up somewhere to give you that motivation daily whenever sort of things are a bit tough with your hand and things. Just go,
no, yeah, listen.
Can't wait to put them on. You know, it's like, it's what a bride does. She sort of hangs her dress up and looks at it and goes, now I just need a man to marry, you know, or things like that. So you just look at it and you go, now I just need to fix my hand. I can put these on.
That's it.
You know?
That's the aim now. Get this fucking hand nice and healed and ready to go, and I'll make sure to be 100% whenever that is.
Definitely. Well, Vic, it's been an absolute pleasure. Obviously, it's the first time I've sort of had you on, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Certainly, get to know more about you. In some ways, well, obviously, we normally sort of leave it with hopefully you're going to have fight news soon, but obviously that's not happening for you anytime soon. We hope obviously everything goes well with your hand. The important thing is obviously making it heal properly, and obviously getting back in the action.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on. Thanks for the kind words. Hopefully next time we're on, I'll have some juicy news and some big fights lined up.
Definitely.
Until then,
well, listen, I'll let you go and obviously get caught back up, because obviously I know with the fight last night, it's thrown everybody off. So, you know, it definitely feels like a Sunday today because of the tiredness and everything else kicks in. But obviously, thanks very much, say once again, for having a chat with us. We'll hopefully catch up again soon.
Absolute legend. Thanks so much.
All right, cheers, Vic.